and welcome to another episode of the Tack On Show. I am J Marsh.
And I'm Rob E.
And we are going to cover today Ted Lasso.
No, thank you.
Welcome to England.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? I know there's probably a ton of you out there that's watching this already, but if you're not, if we're reaching that small segment, sit down, give us 8 minutes of your time, and let's have a discussion about it.
Yeah, this is an Apple TV original. Jason Sudeikis plays the lead as Ted Lasso.
Amazing.
Which this is actually a character that started 8 years ago on NBC Sports when they were getting the Premier League soccer on the network. Jason Sudeikis was running some ads as Ted Lasso.
Hey, how you doing? This is Ted Lasso. I'm the new head coach of the Tottenham Hotspurs, and I'd like to talk to the Queen.
You can still find those on YouTube. However, the character is very different in the new series versus the old. He was more of a serious, coach that was just ignorant.
A tie. Okay, there's a winner, a loser, or a tie. You can tie.
Whereas this coach, this character now in Ted Lasso in the Apple TV series, he is just probably the most optimistic, fun-loving character.
Win or lose.
Or tie.
Right, y'all do ties here.
I think the word I'd like to use is heartwarming.
Yes.
It's very heartwarming, and it's very, not necessarily heart-tugging, but just a really just good guy.
Yes.
That you just root for.
Hi, Ted.
Can't hear you.
Hi!
Yeah! Yeah! We felt it, she felt it! That's what I'm talking about!
No, the premise of the show is he's a college football coach who gets hired to coach a soccer team overseas, and is basically out of his realm, has no idea about the sport or anything, but because he took this low-level college football team to a championship, he gets hired over there. And it's interesting because it's they talk about the way he coached in college football being just so positive with the people.
Correct.
That the U.S. loves him and they wish him the best of luck.
Yeah, they're super supportive of him going over there. There's all this fan and this pomp and circumstance for him going over there and do this. And obviously, it's one of those things where it's met in England with a bit of...
Well, soccer's or football over there is
very
serious.
There's a bit of tension with his arrival. And then there's, everything that goes along with
We're going to
that.
give it our all four quarters.
Yes.
Halves. What?
Well, what?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Halves. He knows nothing.
Because this guy knows nothing about European football. It's just, yes.
Did you see that?
He must be from England, yeah? Wales. Is that another country?
Yes and no.
How many countries are in this country?
4.
This was a show actually that I just recently watched. It came out in 2020. There's only 2 seasons on it. They're 8-episode seasons, and they're only about 25-minute episodes.
And I often refer, this was pandemic programming.
Yes.
Yeah.
But something about the show, like you said, the heartwarming. In today's world, there's so much angst, and people are just there's so much tension right now. This show, it was the perfect timing for me to find it.
Yes.
And I'm already on my second watch because it's this is a show to me that when you watch it, you will rewatch it. I almost find this series to be how people need motivational tapes to listen to every so often. Ted Lasso is going to be my motivational tape.
Be curious, not judgmental. I like that. So I get back in my car and I'm driving to work. And all of a sudden, it hits me. All them fellas that used to belittle me, not a single one of them were curious. They thought they had everything all figured out, and so they judged everything, and they judged everyone.
I will be popping this on for years to come.
And it's just one of those, it's warm, yet it still has those struggles, right? Ted has some, I'm not going to give anything away. It's a difficult step through this. But there's some tensions and there's some shits in this. But in the end, it's still a great series.
No. And 25 minutes an episode, in those 25 minutes, you're going to feel every emotion possible, which is something. All
right, well, I don't think anger.
As some people...
Since season 2...
And some people you get angry with.
You get angry with. Okay.
It is something that I credit the show so much on that you can start the series, you start an episode and you're laughing to the point where your ribs hurt. And the end, or at some point in the middle, you feel so bad for Ted Lasso because this is the world that we live in. People don't like optimism.
No, absolutely, and it is very much a fish out of water type in many aspects, where he just culturally, and he's in a different country that he's never been to before, and as
You
well
know what
as
you
the
do with a
coach
tough
in the
cookie,
job.
right?
What?
Dip 'em in milk.
Ted Lasso quote. Yes.
The series is full of these quotes that Ted Lasso is just so optimistic on that my second time through right now, I'm hearing new lines that I just laughed through last time.
Which makes a lot of sense because it is one of those shows that's very layered.
Yes.
And you grasp something in the first part of it, and then the second time through, you're like, oh, because you are so caught up in the story, you may have some clarity the second time through.
Yes. The show is 2 seasons right now. They are working on a third, and sadly, they are saying they are writing the 3rd season right now to be its final season. Whether or not that means it will be its final, we don't know. I'm hoping not.
And you and I kind of had this conversation a little bit yesterday, where I really honestly feel there's some things that just need to end when they're great, and this is kind of, we want everything to go on long, but this is one of those where you're like, okay, personally, I can be like, I can see it. Rob doesn't necessarily agree with that, but
I think you're right. Things need to end when they're on top, but to me, like 3 seasons is too short. Like this is like a 6-7 season show easily.
Oh, really?
Yes.
This character was from 8 years ago, and here we are today in a 2nd season of a series that's doing very well. It's a 95%
Sure.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Clearly, the shtick hasn't gotten old. So I think 3 seasons is a little too short, just my opinion. I would love to see more.
Thanks, Paul.
Like I
I
said,
would agree with you, Rob. I will argue that the part that I think the story has a limit.
well, it's going to be hard to keep the shtick up of him not knowing the game.
And that's what I'm saying.
learning
And I
new
think
things.
that just that's where you're kind of, unless you're going to move him to Spain, and but I think that's
Ooh.
where they're like, get on the phone, Rob.
Hey, sit down, listen.
It's something else that really stood out to
Yeah.
me on this series is it's an overall, like, the ensemble cast on this series is great. Like, every single character to me is just well-rounded, well thought out. Like, you end up caring for everybody. Like, it's not just Ted Lasso.
Even the antagonist, there is a part of her. I want to be careful. There's part of the antagonist that you're like, oh, like I get it. Like
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there is a Coach Beard, Brendan Hunt
Beard.
is really like, there is a balance that he actually comes over, and I can say this, he comes over with Ted, and he's
the assistant coach.
He was
that comes with
assistant
Ted
coach.
Lasso.
He was assistant coach with Ted. And he's kind of the one that catches a lot. But there is just an incredible cat. Do you want to mention anyone else that just kind of steps out
Like
for
Juno
you?
Temple, who plays it's Keely Jones. Like, she plays like this model who's dating like the like the great soccer
Roy
player.
Kent.
But her interactions with everybody, they come off really sincere and just easy to watch. But it's believable.
I kind of feel like she's the binding agent.
Yes.
Sometimes she's
Yes.
she binds kind of the show together, and it's actually a big credit to her as an
Yes.
actress that she kind of does that on the show.
No, and you brought up Roy Kent, who's Brett Goldstein, who is also a co-writer on the series. His character is amazing. I love the interactions between him and his niece.
Yes.
Those are my favorite.
And they're like, they pawn off on the side, you see him doing this. Because like when he's with his niece, he's this completely different person.
Phoebe, come on.
So, rating the show, this to me, it's a no-brainer. This is a 5 out of 5 Attack on Shows.
This is a
5.
5, okay. This is a 5 out of 5 on Attack on Show. It is a no-brainer. This is a definite watch. So yeah, I'll go with
No, if you need some happiness in your life and you're one of those people, even if you don't need happiness and you're not expecting it, this is a show that you're going to
who doesn't
grin.
need happiness in their life?
Clearly, people watching this show.
It's true.
They're going to need it after this. No.
Grim.
But down below is the link. If you don't have Apple TV, it is only $4.99 a month. This series alone is worth the 7-day trial and like binge it. Just like in 7 days, you will
And
knock
it's
this
easy to
series
do.
out.
I actually know someone who has watched all the Marvel movies in like 2 weeks. So it can be done. It can be done.
Get a life.
I know.
So make sure you click below the like, subscribe.
And the little bell, because if you don't hit the bell, you don't know when Rob and I's beautiful face is going to be
call
back
me
on the
Mob?
television. I said Rob.
Oh, it sounded like my.
The bourbon's working tonight,
you gonna
Rob.
call
I don't
me Mom?
understand why that. Again, and also, if you do that, also special shout out to the Torch. If you're ever in Flint, really nothing? Nothing.
Flint?
Okay. Special shout out to the Torch Bar. Thank you very much for the t-shirts. And again, I am J Marsh.
And I'm Robbie.
And this is Attack on Show.
You can say it.
Oh!